I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Monday, December the 9th, brought to you in part by Macrocin by Bimeda. Macrocin is proven efficacy at an affordable upfront price. It's a tulathromycin injection, basically a generic Draxin. There's no BS involved. End of story. For more information, go to macrocin.com. Also, Joplin Regional Stockyards in Carthage, Missouri. They're having a huge yearling special here on Monday, and it's going to be a big one. I tell you what, this market's been so good, and it is bringing these cattle out of the woodwork. And of course, they've got a lot of customers with a lot of cattle turned out in the four-state area. They are bringing them in. They're going to have 14,000 cattle at Joplin Regional Stockyards on Monday. They'll be starting early like they always do. They'll have 150 or more loads of yearlings. So if you guys are interested in some cattle like that, get to Joplin Regional Stockyards. View them online at DVAuction.com. You won't see a sale anywhere in the size like this anywhere. And there'll be a lot of yearlings been turned out for the most part. They don't do a whole lot of backgrounding down there. So it'll be mostly yearlings been turned out on stockpiled fescue and stuff like that. So if you're interested in there, get into Joplin Regional Stockyards today, Monday, for the big yearling special with 14,000 cattle online. Also, going to talk about this market. I tell you what, it has been unbelievable. And you guys, it's a market like we've never seen before. It's always exciting whenever we get all-time record high prices, but Rocky Mountain Way is the only way I could describe it, and you guys know what I mean by that. I mean, it's high, and I mean couldn't get no higher. Myself, I've never been high. Been buzzed several times, but never been high. But I have bought cattle too damn high in the sale barn, got excited in the auctions, and I think a lot of guys have done that too. But these stalker calves are just unbelievable. They've blown by everything that we've ever seen before as far as an all-time record high. Normally we would think that we would see that in the spring of the year, but it's coming in the fall with all this winter forage that everybody's got. But I tell you what, it's just unbelievable, and we want to go back and look at the reasons why it's so high. Well, number one reason is because this wheat is unbelievably rank. I mean, all through the southern plains, just wheat coming out of ears. I mean, knee-high wheat, not ankle-high, not boot-top high, knee-high wheat. It's getting rank, guys. They got to get something out there on it, and it's about like trying to manage fescue in the spring of the year. You just got to overgraze it. You got to get a lot of cattle out there and get it ate down, and then, as you know, especially while the temperatures are still fairly warm, it'll continue to grow. And I think we're going to continue to see these people blowing their brains out on these stalker calves until we see some frigid, deep cold temperatures in the southern plains. That will set that wheat back a little bit. It'll make it kind of crawl back in the ground and then just kind of ease off until we start seeing it warm back up, you know, early in the spring. So, but here for a few weeks, it's going to continue to stay that way. We've just got so much wheat out there, and I've told you guys before, a lot of this wheat that's planted, people don't have any plans of making a crop out of it. You know, that they're not making any money doing that. And the pounds of cattle that they can gain on that wheat pasture is worth so much more than the bushels that they could grow even if they wanted to make a crop. So most of the varieties that are planted out there in grazing pastures won't make a crop anyway. Now it'll make some hay, it might make some wheat leach, it'll make feed, but it's going to be it's going to be gained through cattle. The harvest of that's going to be through cattle pounds. But also tight supplies is the second reason. We've got the smallest calf crop in 73 years. So there's not many cattle available, and I know for the last 3 years we've been thinking, when's these tight supplies going to show up? When are they going to show up? They're showing up right now. And I know we've been in the middle of the big runs, but the big runs haven't been as big as what we've been used to, and there's just fewer cattle around. The third reason is they closed the Mexican border late in November. A lot of these wheat grazers, especially down here in the Texas Panhandle, they rely on Mexican grazers to turn out on those pastures. And then, you know, we weren't really expecting to have a lot of wheat pasture in November, early November, and then had all that rain in mid-November. Then it was too muddy to turn anything out. And then about the time that shored up and the ground got solid enough to turn some cattle out, and people start thinking, man, we're going to tie into them, then they closed the Mexican border to cattle coming across due to screwworms that they found on the southern part of Mexican border, way the heck down there. But we're glad that they're watching that stuff and taking care of it. No cattle coming across the Mexican border, so there's that many fewer cattle coming across. What's another reason? Whenever you get ready to feed these cattle, after you take them off the winter forage, or you may want to feed them on the grass or the wheat or whatever your ryegrass maybe, and that you're feeding them this winter, we've got cheap feed. People's got a lot of feed put up, a lot of hay put up. I mean, lots of hay. Ran out of hay there a few winters back, and now people's got lots of hay put up. We had a good hay crop this last summer, early, before it got dry, and people's got a lot of hay. They've got a lot of silage. You know, these farmer feeders, they haven't been making any money on their corn and beans, so they've got a lot of feed put up in their harvest stores. So they've got a lot of feed too. And then what's the final reason? The Trump election. I think all of us conservatives have kind of had a bounce in our step here since Trump got elected, and we're just pretty optimistic about the future and everything that goes with that. Now let's look at some reasons why these calves shouldn't be quite so high. And you guys, why would you say anything about that? Let's make them higher yet. Well, there's reasons that we're doing this record high stocker and feeder price. The feeder prices are a record high too. They haven't been gaining as much as the calves, and they haven't blown by it as much. But I think we've got a new high on your CME cash feeder cattle index. I would be pretty sure, at least since they moved the weights up to be based on 800 pounds. But 261.83, I don't remember ever seeing that. And we hit an all-time high on a real-time index a few days before. Naturally, we're always up to date and current, and then we've come back a little bit there at the very tail end of the week. But these cattle are going up. These stocker cattle going up in spite of nothing over their head warranting it. There's nothing to say that these stocker cattle will make any money as yearlings. I think one of the main reasons that they're so high is they're buying these lightweight stockers, so they'll still have something to turn out on grass come this spring, and they won't have to go after them, won't have to tie into them, and people are expecting all-time record highs again this spring. So that's possession is one reason that they're doing it, but the board is not supporting any of this kind of stuff that's going on as far as giving these all-time high prices and way beyond for these stocker calves. The fat cattle market, a lot of these cattle, you got to figure, are going to have to bring over $2 a pound to break, and we don't have any confidence that we can get a cash fat cattle market over $2 a pound. We've seen it touch $2, but we've never seen the weighted average in your 5 area be over $2. So we're doing it in the face of some things, but like I said, whenever everything's as high as it is, and people are high on life and high on the market, they do some things that don't make a lot of sense, and that just happens. But some of the all-time record high prices that we saw mid this past week, I've got to share those. One of the big stickouts happened in winter livestock in Dodge City, and it kind of went viral on Facebook and social media. I'm sure a lot of you saw it. My friend Lance Cochran was selling them. He was doing an excellent job there, and telling people while he was selling those cattle, you can't find them anywhere else. And he was right. He does a good job. I sell with him once in a while at Beaver County Stockyards. I was there this past week, and he does a great job, knows everything that's going on, has his own sale barn in Blackwell, Oklahoma too. But Lance was selling some lightweight stockers that were weaned, 119 of them, weighed 371, and bring 496 Wednesday in Dodge City. Oh my gosh. How about Thursday in Ogallala, Nebraska? They sell 48. I would like to see a little bit bigger string, but I still don't think anybody's going to give this kind of a price just to make the market report on 48 head. But 48 head weighed 305, 75 days weaned and hay fed in Ogallala, Nebraska at 547.50. Wow, that should be on the front page of the Denver Post. But they're kind of liberal. I think they probably don't care nothing about what folks like us are doing. But let's talk about your board for last week. December live cattle futures. Monday was down 45. Tuesday was up 95. Wednesday was down 10. Thursday was down $1.40. Friday came back 40 cents. But your December live cattle futures ended the week at 187.37. That was down 60 cents for the week. So the board's not getting too excited about these high prices in your sale barns. February live cattle ended the week at 186.17, down 245. January feeder cattle ended the week at 255.82, down 365. While everybody else is all excited about the market, your funds and traders in Chicago, not sure they're getting it. They don't really understand. Of course, they're dealing in January and we're in December, so they'll start looking at what the cash market's doing here in another few weeks. But right now, they're just going to juke and jive it and send it whichever way they want to. They don't care anything about what's going on in the cash market until we get into the spot month. March feeder cattle ended the week at 254.67, down 395. Your fat cattle trade brought to you by Legacy Beef Cooperative. Check those guys out. I tell you what, that plant's going to be built there, the Cattleman's Heritage plant there outside of Council Bluffs, Iowa. It's going to be online before you know it, and you could get a stake in it if you would join that Legacy Beef Cooperative. Look into it, guys. Fat cattle trade up through Thursday had 29,900 head sold. Negotiated cash in your 5 area from 189 to 192. Steady to $3 higher. Weighted average up through Thursday was 190.35 in your 5 area. That was 38 cents more than the end of last week. So market's a little bit stronger. Dress sales $2.95 to $3. That's basically steady to $1 higher. Weighted average on dress sales $296.90, up 27. So it was just a little bit stronger. What we were doing from Monday through Thursday in your fat cattle trade, what little bit we saw negotiated out of the 5 area was trading on the high side of last week's or the previous week's weighted average. But then on Friday, and I don't work for the Fed Cattle Exchange through Central Stockyards. They don't even advertise with us. But I do believe in competitive marketing, and especially in the Southern Plains, I think that's the only way we can get it. We've only got 2 or 3, maybe 4 guys at times selling fat cattle negotiated in Texas. Not many more than that in Kansas. You know, then when one of them starts spewing them, the rest of them just follow suit. It's not a real competitive type thing. Now you get up into the Northern Plains, especially in Nebraska, it is. Got several players that still sell negotiated in Nebraska and a whole lot in Iowa. But in the Southern Plains at least, the only way we can get any competitive marketing is through the Fed Cattle Exchange with Central Stockyards. I encourage you guys to participate in that. It's an online platform. They put the cattle out there. All the packers participate. Whether they get anything bought or not, I don't know, but they do all participate. But on Friday morning, they had pins of cattle posted on there for sale, and then it's a time sale, and in competition gets the packers sometimes too, guys. And they ended up paying $191 and $191.5 for cash live sales, FOB the feed yard, just like the ones we report on a cash negotiated basis on Friday morning. Well, that kicked the market into overdrive. It's been doing that time and time again here, guys. in these tight supplies, and I support it. You've got to have some type of competition if you want a higher price. How do you guys ever expect to gain $1 in the fat cattle arena when you're selling off last week's market? You never will. You can't do it, and you can't help do it. You have zero leverage in the market if you're just taking a grid price or a formula deal, and you're rooting for just a few guys from the bench, and the few guys that are doing it, they're the real. I tell you what, they're the real trailblazers, and I give it to them. My hat's off to them. But then Friday, after the Fed cattle exchange, we started seeing even higher prices. So Iowa sold 2,100 on Friday, just 18,600 up through 2 o'clock there, from 188 to 192. Dress sales from 297 to 306. Nebraska sold 6,100 on Friday, 16,800 for the week, 188 to 192, and 297 to 298. So in the northern plains, your live market was a little bit cheaper. They didn't have any Fed cattle exchange sales late in the week up there. They were kind of steady to $2 lower, from 188 to 192, because it was mostly 190 to 192 the previous week. But their dress sales were higher, $1 to $3 higher, 297 to 306. You hardly ever see that. But in the southern plains, your market was higher because of that little bit of competition that we saw. Kansas sold 4,200 head on Friday, 5,700 for the week, 190 to mostly 191. We would have never got that 191 without some competition. Texas sold 1,500 on Friday, 2,500 for the week, 191 to 191 and a half. So the southern plains was $1 to $2 higher, 190 to 191 and a half. So box beef cutout values were kind of mixed. Choice was weak, down 36 cents on your weighted average for the whole week's trade compared to the previous week's weighted average at 310.41. But your late Friday sales were $1.50 or a little more better than that at 312.04 late Friday. Select weighted average on all of last week's sales was up $2.31 compared to the previous week's weighted average at 276.77, and that's almost exactly what your late Friday sales were when they came through. But all that information based on 626 loads of cuts, grinds, and trimmings, and your choice select spread on your weighted average was a little over $33.50. That's spreading out, guys. Of course, they're still doing the holiday demand. Your slaughter last week, 614,000, which is not terrible. Can't really compare it with the previous week because we had Thanksgiving, but it was still 24,000 less than the same week a year ago. Talk about what else is going on. Sometimes we got to toot our own horn here at DVAuction, guys. We are very active in the commercial cattle business. We broadcast over 100 sale barns, about 110 sale barns now every week. But our bread and butter is still our production sales, our seed stock sales and the like. But I want to give you our DVAuction production sale report for November. In the month of November, we had several sales, not nearly as many as we will have now for the next 3 or 4 months as we get into bull sale season. But on our production sale in November, through our online bidding consoles, we had 14,358 bids. I think I had that many at Reverse Rock and R on Saturday. Probably not quite that many, but 14,358 bids in November. We sold over 2,800 lots, and it added up to $12.9 million in purchases. Now, like I said, I mentioned on Saturday, I was at Reverse Rock and R Ranch. That's in Maxwell, New Mexico, kind of between Springer and Raton. And that's where Chris Earl raises his seed stock herd there. And Chris Earl's a friend of mine. He manages a lot of sales for other seed stock breeders. Him and his partner Wes Tiemann, both friends of mine there. And boy, Chris had an impressive offering there. And we were very active online there. Maxwell, New Mexico is not a popular vacation place. It's not very far to Red River or Taos. But it's hard to get people to Maxwell, New Mexico. But Chris had the biggest crowd that I'd ever seen there, and I've been to most of his sales. At full tables there at his meal, and they were active there. Still online with DVAuction. I think we sold over half the lots that they had on there. Sold about 87 lots, and it was an active sale. Very, very impressive. The bulls averaged $7,689. The females averaged $5,417, and the embryos they had on offer averaged $1,275. So it was a good sale there for Chris Earl and the Reverse Rockin' R Ranch, and we're proud to do business for them. But if you guys are having a production sale and you're not getting DVAuction to take your online bids, you're missing out. Nobody can compete with our buyer base there, guys, and people are on our site all the time shopping for bulls, and you might as well ride with the ones that started it, guys. Let's talk about your feeder cattle market. Your real-time index on DVAuction late ended the week at 260.77. That was $1.33 higher than the end of last week. Now, we did see a peak. It did go higher than that earlier in the week, but come back down there late in the week a little bit. Now your CME Cash Feeder Cattle Index is just now catching up with that, and the latest available was 261.83. Those are based on 800-pound steers there, guys, so pretty dang impressive. Let's talk about your cash trends in your sale barns last week. Your feeders sold $2 to $4 higher early in the week, and then by midweek they shifted into a new gear, closing the week $4 to $8 higher. And that sounds like a bunch until you look at your calves. Your calves were sharply higher, with lightweight stocker calves selling from $20 to $50 higher per 100, guys. That is huge gains. I know it's not as much on the light 3-4 weight and light 5 weight cattle, but still those are very impressive gains. I'm going to give you several impressive quotes here. Fort Scott Livestock Market in Fort Scott, Kansas sold 59 steers weighed 910 pounds at $257. Fort Pierre Livestock Auction, Fort Pierre, South Dakota, sells 95 steers weighed 602 at $340 on Friday. Hub City Livestock Auction had a special sale on Saturday. They sell 70 steers weighed 813 at $267.50. And then way out in Nevada, which I'm headed to Nevada literally as soon as I finish this video. I'm headed to the airport, headed out to the rodeo. Be there for a few days early this week. I'll still be doing my reports, of course, because I haven't found anybody else that'll fill in for me. But out at Nevada Livestock Marketing in Fallon, Nevada, this past weekend, they can do it without me. I mean, I like being there, but they can do it without me. But at Fallon, Nevada, at Nevada Livestock Marketing on Friday, they had one of their specials. They're going to have two this month. I'm going to be out there December the 20th for their second sale special of the month. But at their special on Friday, they sell 72 steers. Those high altitude desert calves weighed 418 and bring 447.50. And that's your feeder flash for Monday.